President William Ruto is currently in Germany, and the 2 days tour actually ended in signing of bilateral labor agreements between Kenya and Germany. And of course, this is something that Kenyans are weighing it differently, looking at your standing. I have followed through the speeches and what Kenyans and recruiters are speaking and talking about in Germany. I promise you that in this podcast, we normally do quality analysis. So immediately when we will get hold of that document, we'll try to chambua it one by one, see what are the details in it, what are the cons and the pros in it, and ensure that you keep to this channel because we'll understand everything that is going on. But we're paying more attention, and the reason why I'm paying more attention here is that agreement has been done. We've had such an agreement between Kenya and Saudi Arabia, and our doctors did not fancy the jobs in the Middle East. So about the Europe ones, I think it's one that we are going to pay more attention to. But I think, and I still insist, while it is a good move to get some jobs to create jobs for Kenyans abroad, it is not sustainable enough. And looking at the way Africa, the shape that Africa is taking, we need to be more, I think we can still do more and veer off from that direction. Because what we need to ask ourselves as a country, what President Ruto needs to ask himself here is, what has Germany done within the last 10 years that is making them in creating more demand for skilled labor? And actually Europe, what is Europe doing different that is making them create a demand for more skilled labor? And that's why they are coming to Africa to look for skilled labor. And you also need to ask yourself that question in the context that, so what about us as a country? As much as we send, what do we gain? Those questions are very important to us and we're going to answer. But before that, guys, I'm still shooting this in Kilifi. I came back in Kilifi, I rushed back in Kilifi just to spearhead the end of our project that we've been doing here of supporting 15 elderly women here. These elderly women that we had been supporting were actually, they were being supported by one of us, a subscriber, but an ex-military officer. But that did not go through, he had to stop because he also fell ill. So that's why we chipped in. In the first phase, what we did, we repaired their houses, some 5 houses, then we did food donation, and we also gave them mattresses. But then what was pending is constructing 4 more houses afresh, 4 new houses afresh. So that's why I was here. We've done 2. The other 2 are actually supposed to start, are currently underway. But of course, the gist of what is remaining is just a support of this other 4 that will just be probably supporting them with buying them mattresses and vitandas. Now that is a budget of around 50,000. That is the only deficit we have, and I'm just saying any one of us that will be willing to chip in whatever way would highly be achieved, would highly be appreciated, because I think by this weekend, by the end of this weekend, we should be able to really finish all that so that I can also rush back to Nairobi. So thank you very much for supporting this. They really, really need, but anything that you can chip in with, Mungu atashukuru. Now, I don't want to lose the flow of thought because this analysis was very keen for me. Two days ago, the President of the Republic of Kenya, William Ruto, launched a program known as Climate-Works. Is it Climate-Works? Climate-Works, which is a kazi mtaani. And look at the irony. Back in this country, the president is on top of car shouting about mjengo jobs in affordable housing. Akiambia watu and saying that kazi ni kazi. Kazi ni kazi. But in Europe, what the president need to ask himself here is, in Germany, are they also creating those manual jobs that Ruto speaks about here? You need to ask yourself. Now, these bilateral labor agreements, are they also jobs of this online the digital hubs that Ruto talks about, there is a lot more different. And that is why I feel there is more that we need to learn. But I paid attention to some 3 key issues that were raised by most stakeholders in Germany. And this lady here really made, opened our eyes on visa qualifications and education between Kenya and Germany. I want us to listen to that.
The problem of visas is really an issue. And my prayer, as you said, Mr. President, is that it is a win-win situation. And for me, a win-win situation is not supposed to ease the situation, but it's supposed to have an effect immediately. Because if we are talking at the eye level, the German says, Augen Hörhe, yeah, dann das muss so sein. So the German, from the German side and the Kenyan side, Kenya being a sovereign state, just as Germany is a sovereign state, then we need to have equal opportunities. Because what is actually on the ground, and I'm so happy that there are so many German recruiters here, but we also, as the black in quotes German recruiters also, we are also equally German, and we are also equally recruiting just as they are doing, but we have first-hand experience here in Germany, how the market looks, what the problems are. Now, if the agreement includes the visa processing and all that, then it has to take immediate effect. That when our people go there, the question that we face mostly is, how sure are we you're coming back to Kenya? Nobody wants to stay in Germany. I will be very clear about that. I'm a Kenyan, I've been here 13 years, I'm working here, really hard, I've studied the language. They take away 1 year of our education when we come here, when they try to compare our education system. That you spoke about education, they take 1 year away. With my credentials from Kenya, I am a gymnasium material. But they take 1 year away, send me back to school for 1 year to study German, English, German, and mathematics. Yeah, I did that purposely to show them that we Kenyans were very smart. That with even a standard 8 or 7 qualification, you can still come here and learn. And we have engineers, we have nurses, we are very educated, we are very smart, we are hustlers, and we know how to hustle everywhere. Yeah. So we really need the education that they give us, our equal education. If I've learned for 12 years in Kenya, I have learned it's the same as the education here in Germany, which says it's 12 years. They should give me what belongs to me so that I can also be in the market. So I would wish to see, as a German recruiter, Kenyan German recruiter in Germany, that we get equal opportunities. It's a win-win situation, and it has to start and take effective immediately.
So what she's saying, and what they're saying, this is one of the factors they're saying, that the education model, the education model for Kenya does not still work well and still unfair in terms of Kenya accessing the market in Germany. So yes, as much as the president would have put down some agreement to paper, but this is one of the things that is being talking about. And the other issue is about the visa. I've been saying that getting a visa is not very easy. And before you even leave a visa, passports. If we still have passport issues within our country, before you even go and sign those agreements, we should be able to clear the backlog in Nairobi to ensure that now the period that it takes for someone to get a visa have to be shortened. Because I want to believe that even those jobs are not just idle. These are jobs that they are vacancies. They're looking for people on competitive basis. They have recruiters from Kenya. They have other people recruiting from other African countries and even other European countries. So if also Kenya is to be competitive and be able to beat the deadlines in terms of these jobs, then the president should come back in the country, and the first thing is to have a sit down with Kithure Kindiki and find out how they will ensure that visa issues is something of the past. The other thing that this other lady also raised was the issue of integration in Germany.
And challenge you, Mr. President, is by signing this agreement, I would be very offended if the people who are brought on board and with no offense about Germans, they are our husbands, they are our children, but we want Kenyans who are in this country to be also involved or to play a part, because there are Kenyans here, there are teachers, we have teachers, we have Kenyans who are nurses. We see a lot of nurses coming into this country. These are the people who will provide the expertise, because there is also the cultural aspect. We understand the cultural issues, because we have a lot of Kenyans who come to this country, end up being depressed, and mostly men suffer mentally coming to this country because they don't understand the culture of this country. So it would be very important for diasporans who are here to help on board or to play a part in this labor agreement. The second part is we also have Kenyans here. I will take this opportunity to mention, for example, I've seen him, I wanted to mention him, Mr. Mutunge has a very good program, and this program is he's training aircraft engineers in Kenya. And to train these aircraft engineers in Kenya, he needs things like aircraft. And he has received from organizations like Lufthansa have donated to him an aircraft. But it is a very complicated process to import this, or you can't take it as a Kenyan or as an individual. The government needs to support such activities so that we can develop, because it does not only create opportunities for Kenyans who would then train and come and get jobs here, but it also creates opportunities for Kenyans who are in Kenya. Instead of learning theoretically, you go to a college in Kenya, you learn about maintaining an aircraft, but you have never seen that aircraft. You've never been near an aircraft. So thank you very much, and those are the challenges that I would like to put in.
Listen to this. So it's saying that while you have a very ambitious plan, but ensure that Kenyans living in Germany are also involved. They're part and parcel of this. And I think this applies to Kenyans in abroad. If we have bilateral, this is not the first one, might not be the last one, we're still going to have more. When we have bilateral labor agreements between Kenya and other countries, we should ensure that Kenyans living there for adaptability, for suitability, for integration. Because some people go and they have culture shock, and they cannot, it really takes them long to heal from culture shock. And just before that, they fail to adapt. The more they fail to adapt, probably the employers might look and say, question even qualification, that whether this person is not even eligible for the work. So the question of integration is very important. And I think in part of that agreement, they're poking holes and they're explaining that it should be very, very, the government should not do things in isolation. It should not just depend that the embassy is going to take care of everything. That is a point that I really found very important. The other bit they raised is the social protection rights. Maybe we need to listen to her question here.
After us getting that office, the Diaspora State Department of Diaspora Affairs, you guys understand your homework. Thank you very much to that. And to the recruiters who are here, recruiters who are here, when you're sending our brothers and sisters from home, please, the political climate right now is very harsh. Zungumza na sisi hapa diasporans, tuwaeleze where you can send people. There are areas that ngozi yetu haiwezi kanyaga, but we have our brothers and sisters working in these areas. Let us work on that. That is something that really has to be looked into. And also I want to commend our Deputy Balozi. That is Balozi Valerie, who has also been fighting on the social protection of those who are coming. Your Excellency, sisi hapa kama diasporans, saa zingine tukimbiangi embassy because tunasema uko hatuna hiyo social protection. But Miss Njogu alituhakikishia kwa meeting na tukasema asante. And I heard her say at the meeting of the Friedrich Ebert Stiftung, where we were discussing mambo ya labor migration with the Joachim Stamm, and ulisimama ukasema ukatuhakikishia all those who will be coming here. So please help this office to offer us that. Kwa majina naitwa Jacqueline Kuhn. I'm the founder of Kenyan Women in Germany. Mimi kazi yangu hapa na wenzetu hapa hivi to help in integration.
Her concern there. Now, we've had Kenyans going to work abroad, and government, of course, these recruiters are also in business. So they might not be able, and most of those recruiters might not be able to have the good linkage with the government, with the parent government in those countries, or even in Kenya. There have been a lot of problems of social protection. Kenyans getting into some areas that, that probably are even hostile for Africans or even for blacks. For example, the issues of racism. And then you find out that when something happens, government only dangles and dances around such issues and cannot be able to speak out and intervene in time. You know, for example, there is a case of a Kenyan who was working, is it in Turkey or somewhere, who is facing hang. He's supposed to be hanged. And because alikuwa anafanya, then wakagombana na mtu, then to that end, I don't know, akampiga, then that person, I don't know, died. Then from there, he was facing manslaughter and then death penalty and has been jailed for some time. So that issue also need to arise, because in a workplace, the other things will happen. There is also a case of injuries. Someone is injured working in, I think that is in Canada. I think I saw that story. Working in Canada. The company has failed to compensate. And Kenyan government and this side are now arguing about the insurance. Who insured who? So those issues in terms of social protections really need to be put up to. And of course, the last thing I want to put in terms of key issues that need to be raised is the integrity of recruiters. I want to call them enablers. There have been instances in Eldoret and recently where some very well connected fellows, they scam parents. So parents go sell their pieces of land, they sell the number of heads of cows they have and their properties in the name of securing good jobs for their children abroad. Only all that to come out that it was con games. So, and sadly enough, some of enablers of these things are actually politicians. In Uasin Gishu, Mandago is in court over the Finland education scam. So people collected money from innocent Kenyans. They're going to seek jobs, and the best, and I can say that Kenyans are gullible because we don't have the instruments of confirming probably that this is genuine and this is not genuine. Remember, jobs abroad is a fortune that if it knocks, if you find an idea that there is some fortune abroad, you tend to emotionally get aligned and then fail to question. Even though some are outright that maybe people did not just do their due diligence, but some of these recruiters are actually registered by the government of Kenya. So you get in those offices, they have all the documentation, legit documentation, and then they found out an opportunity to defraud Kenyans. So by that, Kenyans should be on the lookout. Immediately the president comes out from Germany, there are a number of scrupulous business recruitment agents that will start now selling for you fortunes about jobs in Germany that the president opened, and you will fall for that. Kindly make sure you do due diligence before you get into any sort of deal. It is very, very important. But it is good that we have fortune abroad and Kenyans can now get to work abroad, probably. But, or rather, is it sustainable? Is this the direction that Kenya should take? That is what we need to ask ourselves. And that is why when I started this analysis, I said the President of the Republic of Kenya, after all these bilateral labor agreements, he should come home and then have a sit down and start thinking, what is Germany doing different that is making them create more jobs? Why do they have an increasing demand for job? Is it about the decreasing population? Is it about the kind of jobs? And we'll do this by just looking at the kind of jobs. But then the demand of doctors, the demand of teachers, the demand of skilled labor, by the way. Skilled and unskilled labor. But the demand of skilled labor. So if Kenyans are getting those jobs there, what is Germany doing different? I want the president to come and tell us here that Germany is looking for people to work in affordable housing as mjengos, as kazi za mjengo. You know, I want the president to come back and tell us here that bilateral labor agreements that we've signed is for Kenyans to go and work online in ICT hubs, the ones that the president has been talking about here. I would want to hear if the Kenyans that are getting jobs in Germany are going to work in Kazi Mtaani or Climate Works that we launched in Korogocho. So we need to find a permanent, we need to find a sustainable solution. And I agree it's not an overnight success. Kenya cannot create 1 million jobs overnight. But imagine we can create a conducive environment that can make us be able to create jobs locally. I want to look at that, but I want to look at some 5 factors that we can put into place so that we also create jobs for our market, a market for jobs here in Kenya or even in Africa. Before I do that, I want to still humbly request you to reach out and support the Kilifi Elderly Mission that we are just finishing, just a bit of it, supporting the rest of the 4 families that are remaining. That should be able to happen by weekend. The 2 houses are being built, so I believe that any support that you can get in your way will go to support this, and may God really bless you as you propose to support. There are 5 things we need to do as a country. We must bolster our manufacturing to create a pool of a market pool for the labor. You know, if you look at the contribution of manufacturing to our GDP, the last time the president was talking about it was that was in April, and he spoke about 13%. The day that a contribution of manufacturing to our GDP can hit 40, we shall have created a market for our goods. We shall have created a labor market for us. And in fact, in manufacturing, there is something I like about manufacturing, because it will employ across board. You know, we are talking about affordable housing, and when you're talking about affordable housing, we are only going in that, only people in that industry, in that building sector, peke, only those ones are going to be there. So we're only going to apply masons, tuakio, fundua, only those ones in the building sector. But in manufacturing, you'll employ a communication person. Around that manufacturing, around that company, there will be a hospital, so a doctor will be employed. Around that place, there will be demand for residential houses. So the houses will be built, and when those houses are built, those in the mjengo sector, those in the building sector are going to get jobs. With just that one tool of manufacturing, there will be schools, demand for schools around that area because people stay close to that company. Just because of that, schools will be built, there will be a market demand for the teachers. Now, just look at just one company of manufacturing that is working well, how that can help us. Within the company, you're going to employ everyone. From a finance officer, accountant has gotten a job. If you go to the communication department, someone has got a job. A business development, an expert, someone is going to get a job. If you go to probably something technical, someone is going to get a job. These companies are run by ICT, someone in the ICT is going to get a job. So look at how manufacturing, in the transport sector, we are manufacturing, they are moving from one place to the other. You've employed drivers. Now guys, are you seeing how manufacturing is a game changer in the labor market, even in Kenya? So we should create bolster manufacturing, and let's make it work. You know, we tax. And one of the things is this is we tax ourselves to steal, that even those who want to establish companies here cannot manage. We have a lot of bureaucracy for you even to do something in this country. The other thing is Kenya is partially an agricultural economy. Not partially. Kenya is probably 50% agricultural economy. Our exports in coffee, in tea, in flowers, in avocado, mangoes, all this. Meat, it is also another product we export. Kenya is agricultural economy. When we can create an export market, we can export more and create market for our agricultural products. All of us will leave these cities. These Kenyans with some money, there are people who have money in their accounts. Good people that have worked, civil servants, people who have worked in government for more than 40, 30 years. They have money. But these people cannot even retire and go home because there is no alternative. What we will actually end up doing here is, you're going to create a market, and I want to explain how. When agriculture can be lucrative, that Kenya can have good export, and you do labor, and now we have export processing zones and county industrial aggregation parks, that we do value addition on our agricultural products so that we can export them as finished products. We shall create a good demand for the farmer, for Kenyans to go back to farming, because farming will also be lucrative. With that, two things are going to happen. Many people will leave towns and go home, go to their rural areas for farming. Through that, you first decongested the labor market. Apart from even decongesting these towns, you decongest the labor market, and mostly the ones that will be able to risk in investment are people that are a little bit elderly, not elderly but mature, in their 50s. Now you might end up with a young population of people in their 30s and late and early 40s that are still the ones in towns moving, people who are energetic, so that people go back to invest. When people also invest in agriculture, you are going to create a demand for technicians and labor in those farms. Even in that supply chain, just look at, if a supply chain for coffee is active and it's working from the farm all the way to the airport, you have a company that is processing that to the airport, export. You have the drivers in the middle, you have some value addition, someone is in the company, and that is just one product, coffee. Then you have another one, like let's talk of eggs. You have a whole supply chain of eggs, active and viable. How many people can just a supply chain of eggs employ? Just look at that. So when we make sure that our agriculture is working, that diversity will decongest our labor market. And you'll realize that you'll create a demand for you'll create a demand for the new lawyers, We'll create a demand for the skilled labor in towns, as most people now resort to invest. And Kenyans will also have the confidence of investing here. The other thing is, we must work on our politics. And this is just governance. Let me not speak of politics. Let me talk about governance. You know, sometimes people can't invest because of unpredictability. You don't know which tax will be needed at what level. You don't know what will happen at. There are many in political analysis, we engage with people who tell you, Kevin, I have this brilliant idea. Can you help me in the contact of so and so? Because I want to establish company X in this place, and I'm really getting frustrated. I know most of you, even members of this channel, you get so many of those messages or those texts from Kenyans abroad that I want so and so. Can you get me Babu Wino's number? Or can you get me Waziri Mbadi's number? Okay, I want to do this in Homa Bay, but I'm really getting frustrated. What does that speak to? It's about our governance. Our system is corrupt to the core. You cannot invest. The bureaucracy in this country is wanting. The bureaucracy here, I'm telling you the kind of bureaucracy we have here. Leo useme tu nataka kufanya kitu. You want to establish a company even in Siaya. There is a company that Dominion was in Siaya. It collapsed. Why? Because the oligarchs just wanted to eat around it, and the guy had to leave. And the minute he left, that Dominion was employing hundreds of people in Siaya County. Look at that. I'm currently in Malindi. Kilifi is in Malindi. Malindi is in Kilifi. So I was talking to some of these locals here, and the bodaboda guy told me that, Kevin, the economy of Malindi ni mzungu. The moment mzungu hayuko, Malindi haipo. Then I asked why. He told me, these people are not coming. This time around, this is their peak season. But they're not coming. So nikamuliza, mbona hawakuji? He was telling me that mzungu anaogopa vurugu. Sasa akiona kwamba kuna wasiwasi, kuna vurugu, kuna hizi ish mzungu hawezi kuja. Na wakati mzungu hajakuja, Malindi imenyamaza. No, Malindi, like when we were looking for a place where I could stay, we moved around a number of hotels and there were so many empty rooms. Yes. And he told me, this time around you can go in this place and get a room because mzungu hayuko. If you go to the beaches, those beaches are deserted. There are no people there. Why those beaches deserted? Those beaches are deserted because our tourism of the coast has collapsed. By the way, I will do some analysis on the tourism in the coast. So we need to also look at how we can boost our tourism. It's also one of the most good income generating activity for us. And lastly, but not least, fix our economy so that we can also afford decent wages. Why are Kenyans fancying jobs abroad? Because of wages. Ile pesa unaweza pata. And lastly, minerals. We have so many minerals, lucrative, a potential of exploiting them. But if they are not exploited, they cannot be able to service our economy. So ladies and gentlemen, that is my take. I've done a really a good analysis, if you ask me, on this matter. And kindly support, also subscribe to our channel. And we are finishing the Kilifi challenge, Kilifi mission this weekend. And it's really been work, guys. It's really been work. And thank you very much for support. And I believe kwamba tutaweza. Asanteni.